Hello everyone, good evening. Am I audible? The students who are joining us online, are we audible? Please put the comment in the description box. Yes, so today we have with us Mukul Gaba. Mukul has secured 494 rank in 2024. And today Mukul will be discussing the strategies which he has followed to score or boost his marks by 67. In the first attempt itself, Mukul have given interview, but because of some issues or some mistakes he have committed in the first attempt, he could not get the he could not see his name in the final list. So in 2024, he has identified those gaps. He has identified or he has figured out what was the issues in his preparation, and finally he was able to fulfill or he was able to address those issues in 2024 attempt, and finally he got recommended. So today in this session he will be talking about the strategy for GS paper 1, 2, 3 and 4, and I'm sure you will be surprised to see how he has basically framed the strategy for each and every subject, which has helped him to boost at least 15-20 marks in most of the paper. And he was one of my favorite students because I really appreciate Mukul, because you used to come and you used to sit together for like 4-5 hours in our offices, right? And he was a part of Short Short Mains program last year, the senior batch I'm talking about, because he like in the first attempt he has given the interview, so he was a part of Short Short senior batch. So Mukul used to sit like for 4-5 hours in the office, right? And he used to brainstorm the question, the previous year's questions. So his focus was more on skill development, and because of that only he was able to basically come up with a strategy, right? The templates, the like how to understand the demand of the question and all. So today he will be talking about the strategy. Like he has picked a few topics for GS paper 1, 2, 3, 4, and more detailed discussion we are going to have in the strategic session, which will be starting from the next week. So I will give mic to the Mukul. So Mukul, the stage is yours. So please help the students how you have succeeded in this exam. I hope the session will be very beneficial for all of you. See you.
Thank you very much, sir, for the brief introduction which sir has given. So, firstly, I'll tell you about my background. I have done BA and MA from University of Delhi in political science. Currently, I am pursuing PhD from Department of East Asian Studies, University of Delhi. My first attempt was in 2023 and I scored 724 marks in my first mains. And in my second attempt, I scored 791 marks and I improved the score. So I will sharing the strategies which was used during for this shift. So the session will be divided in basically three subheads. First will be the mistakes, and second will be the some important things which can be done in the mains paper, and third will be the specific GS 1, 2, 3, 4, some of the strategies which you can use in the exam. So mistakes, the main mistakes which I committed was firstly I had a huge ego problem, mainly because I used to think in my first attempt itself. In my first attempt itself, I have cleared prelims and mains. So I will be clearing all the stages. But after the result, when I saw my marks in mains, they were considerably less. So I think we must be open and we must allow thoughts to come us from all the direction, and we can keep our ego aside, and we must be ready to improve at every moment. Even 0.25 marks can make impact. And the second issue was I used to fill the pages. This was the main issue. I used to fill the pages, but I was not precise in answer writing. So meeting the demand of the question is also very important. So you have to be precise while writing. There is no need to just fill the papers. You have to be precise in your writing. Third was I was just writing the tests and I was not focusing on feedbacks. So the main thing is we get feedbacks from various sources. Like the first feedback is through the mentor. Second feedback is our self analysis. Third feedback is from the answer booklet. So we must make a page and we must write all the feedbacks on a page. Fourth issue was health. I was not focusing on health. The main thing was my mental health was a very serious concern during my mains examination. So as today is International Yoga Day, so we must commit 15 to 20 minutes to the yoga and meditation in the morning itself, so which can help our mental health so that we can focus and concentrate on exam. So these are some of the mistakes which I have made, and I emphasize that you must note down these mistakes so that you are not repeating these mistakes and giving another attempt, so that you are understanding the mistakes. So just understand these mistakes from me and do not replicate these mistakes. Second, some of the most important habits which I had during the mains time, since prelims is done. So some of the important habits was, first was headlines. I used to read newspaper daily. So the I used to read newspaper daily. So what you have to do is you have to just read newspaper for 20 minutes, and you have to take a sticky note, and you have to write three main important news which was there, which you can use as examples. For example, today I have read Indian Express. So some of the three important news which I saw in the newspaper was, first was assisted dying. There is a law in United Kingdom for senior citizens which will assist the death of the senior citizen. So this example can be used in ethics or senior citizen. In ethics, it can be used as humans cannot be used as a means to serve some ends, as it was said by Immanuel Kant. So these sort of examples you can collect. Second was Iran and Israel conflict. So India's projects like IMEC, Chahabar port, they can get impacted due to prolonged conflict in Middle East region. Third was on the explained page, there was citizen feedback on Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. Central government is planning to put some QR code so that citizen can give feedback for the roads. So I think these three examples can be used in my mains examination, and these three examples will make my answers more relevant. So pick up a sticky, just put it on a newspaper, write three examples in 20 minutes, remove the sticky from the newspaper, put it in front of your table, so that you will be remembering three examples daily. And if you are doing this for 40 days, 40 multiplied by 3 will be equal to 120 examples, which are very recent. So this practice was very important. Second was reflection. So I used to analyze my notebook very regularly. I used to write answers, then I used to spend 2-3 hours with my notebook so that I can understand what are the mistakes which I'm making. In my first attempt, my mistake was I wrote 20 to 30 tests, but I was not reflecting upon the test. So that reflection has led me to secure a rank. So this thing is very important. You have to reflect down on your notebooks. You can do that by your own, or by sitting with your mentor. So in the next test, you will ensure that you will not repeat the mistakes which you have done in the first test. And third is mock tests. You have to ensure that you are writing 10 to 12 full length tests between this period of prelims and mains, because writing is the only thing which will lead you to winning. So you can purchase a test series which have 10 to 12 tests, and you can write all the tests. One test series will ensure that all the important current aspects will be covered in that test series. So that is another thing. Third was there is a right in nowadays we are seeing that generally students are focusing on topics. There are various topics in our syllabus, for example, society, urbanization, or regionalism, or in internal security, there is communication, cyber security. But we have to move from topics towards themes. We have to identify some themes, and we have to make half pager notes for all the themes rather than making note for the topic. For example, some of the themes which I noted was in urbanization. In urbanization, there is a repetitive theme on IT hubs. So you can make, after making a basic note on urbanization, like introduction, features, challenges, way forward, and conclusion on a one page, you can move towards themes of the urbanization. Some of the themes are smart cities. You will be able to identify these themes via PYQs. So PYQs are very important. Smart cities, issues in metropolitan cities, IT hubs. These are recurring themes in urbanization. In women, there are themes like gender equality, women empowerment, sex ratio, patriarchy, and representation of women. So you have to identify the themes rather than just focusing on the topics. So these themes will help you to write a better and more relevant answer as compared to just focusing on topics. And you have to follow a natural process in the mains, which is, firstly you must read the content, then you must write, and then you can improve your presentation. So firstly you have to focus on reading. Once you are done, for example, you have done reading of syllabus of GS1, now start writing paper. You will complete the paper in, say, 4 hours or 4.5 hours. After doing this, start working on presentation, start working on presentation skills, start making diagrams, start completing the paper on time. So I think this is a natural evolution which a student must focus on. I missed this evolution in my first attempt. I was just writing, I was just focusing here, I was not focusing here and here. So these both stages are also very important. So I think we are done with this, the mistakes which I committed and the most important habits which I followed between prelims and mains. So you can make note of these habits. Now we will move towards specific GS 1, 2, 3, 4. I have some themes which I used in these specific examinations which you can use in your paper. Firstly, I will be starting with GS4, that is ethics. So in ethics, in my first attempt, I initially attempted case studies and then I went to theories. So, but in my second attempt, I firstly attempted theories and then case studies. So ensure that this structural issue you are not getting into. But there is some catch in this. In the first 5 minutes, when you will read the first case study, and in 10 minutes, you will write the case study. The first case study will be attempted firstly, and then you will move towards your theory part, and then you will come again to case studies. So firstly, in 5 minutes, utilize that extra 5 minutes to read the case study, attempt it, then move towards theories, write 13 question of theories, and then write case studies. So this is the structure which I followed. There is an argument for writing the answer of theories first because it helps you to ensure that the philosophical terms of ethics are coming in your subconscious mind. And the initial impression is very good when someone is checking your copies. And uh, syllabus. So you have to, second thing is syllabus. So first thing is attempt. Second will be syllabus. You have to remember the syllabus and for each and every keyword in the syllabus, because syllabus act as a very important source of keyword. For each keyword, you will have one example or two example, definition and example. Two examples each for each keyword. So you will keep this thing concise. You will write down every keyword and examples. And another thing was you can prepare some introduction and conclusion beforehand. You can, for example, in emotional intelligence question, I had a conclusion that as per Indian scriptures, manovritti, that is emotional intelligence, is always preferable over buddhivritti, that is intelligence quotient. So these sort of things can be used in for the conclusion in emotional intelligence. And for example, similarly in environment, if the question is on environment in ethics, so I had a conclusion that as Bertrand Russell states, there is coexistence or no existence guided by Indian ethic of vriksho rakshati rakshita. So these are some of the introductions and conclusions which you can prepare. Apart from that, there are some frameworks which can be used in ethics question. When we are reading any question, you have to generate some arguments which can help you to build some good content. So these arguments can be generated from some frameworks. Like the first will be, you can think of some thinkers. Thinkers can be Indian or Western. So Indian thinkers like Kautilya, Swami Vivekanand, Rabindranath Tagore, B.R. Ambedkar, they can be quoted extensively throughout your ethics answers. And Western scholars like Socrates, Plato, Kierkegaard, Durkheim, Kant, Rawls, I know you have studied all of them, but you have to use them. You have to practice. You have to brainstorm so that you can use these thinkers in the arguments when you are framing them. For example, for Socrates, the main argument of Socrates is ideal men, virtue ethics, or having a good character. So whenever you are writing an answer, use Socrates, use these examples. These things will help you. Second is some of the religions or religious scriptures. Religious scriptures. Some of the religious scriptures can be used by you. Like Jainism, we read in ancient and medieval. Buddhism, Islam, we read in medieval. Mahabharat, Nishkam Karma of Mahabharat, Ramayana. Ramayana depicts the love towards family. So whenever there is a question on family, you can quote Ramayana, you can quote Bible, Bhakti movement, etc. And apart from this, other framework will be theories. Theories. Mainly the three theories are virtue ethics, utilitarianism, and Kantianism. Apart from these three basic theories, the other basic theories are knower and doer split, social justice of Rawls, Gandhi on seven sins. So you have to make the note of these thinkers and religions so that you can use them in your ethics answer. These things will ensure that your answers are ethical. Fourth will be some books. Fourth will be some books. So you can quote books like Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics, Utilitarianism of J.S. Mill, and Tirukaral of Tiruvalur. So you can quote these books. So you have to make the list of all of them, and you have to quote them extensively in your ethics answer. These will make the difference. So after this, I will tell you something about case studies. So you can note these. Make note of, say, 5 Indian thinkers, 10 Western thinkers, some 6 to 7 religious scriptures, 10 to 12 theories, or 10 to 15 books. Read them, use them in your tests. This will ensure that your answers are ethical, and you will be able to gain that 0.25 mark or 0.5 marks extra in each of the questions. And apart from this, case studies. So when we talk about case studies in ethics, they are mainly the main case studies are of 4 type. One is private sector, second is public sector, third will be law based, fourth will be applied ethics. Applied ethics like artificial intelligence, disaster management. So you have to prepare issues, ethical dilemmas, merits and demerits, and some of the options which can be used under these case studies. So you have to prepare some ethical issues and ethical dilemmas for each of them, so that when you're writing answer, you're not taking too much of the time to write an ethical answer. So make a page, write private sector studies, write some ethical issues involved, write some ethical dilemmas involved, merits, some demerits, common merits and demerits which can be used in a private sector case study, because 6 case studies will come, approximately 4 or 5 of them from will be under these heads. So you have to use them very accordingly. I will take the doubts. I have some of the doubts are coming. So firstly, I'll complete this thing, then I'll take all the doubts. And the last and most important thing in ethics is writing. Writing is the most important thing in ethics. You can read X number of books, you can join X number of courses, that will not help until and unless you are not writing answers of ethics. We have talked about some of the things. You have to write your answers using these things. You have, when you are generating an argument, use some religion, use some theories, use some books or Indian or Western thinkers, so that your answer will become ethical. Your answer are not generic, they are ethical, and they will become ethical just by writing and practicing more and more. So these are some of the things in ethics which you can use. I have scored very well in ethics, so I think you must implement these things if you have to score well in ethics. You have to ensure that your answers are ethical. Now I'll start GS3. Just take a new page, apart from ethics, in which we will firstly start agriculture. I'll take in GS3 there are various subjects, like I'll talk with you about agriculture, internal security, disaster management, and economy, 2 topics of economy. The most of the discussion will be based on these things. There are some frameworks which you can use while writing the answers. In agriculture, first will be agriculture. You can write some of very basic data which can be used anywhere in any question in agriculture. That is, agriculture ensures livelihood of 58% of the people. It contributes to 18% of Indian GDP. The growth rate in agriculture is 4% in last 5 years, and the food grain production of India is 328 million tons. And there is one very important committee, Dalwai committee. So you can use these things in every answer. And after writing this, the most important thing which can act as a framework when you are thinking about any question in agriculture, I'll tell you the main framework of that will be, first you have to think agriculture works in 3 stages: pre-sowing, sowing, and then post harvest. So these are main 3 things which can be used in all your agriculture answers. Even if you have to generate features, you have to generate challenges, you have to create a way forward, just use this thing. In pre-sowing, what are the things which will come in this stage of pre-sowing? It will be inputs like land, water, pesticides, fertilizers. Apart from input, there will be credit. Apart from credit, there will be extension services. So these are the things which will come under pre-sowing. Now you have to write any answer of agriculture, use this framework. In production, you have to ensure the 3 things, mainly livestock, risk mitigation. For example, crop insurance. Whenever there is an issue in crops, so it will come during the time of sowing. And environmental sustainability, like sustainable agriculture system and practices, they are at the ground. So this is the stage of sustainable agriculture system and practices. Then post harvest, that is once you have took the seeds, you have put the water, you have taken care of your crops. Now you will take these crops to the market. So once you're done with this, the marketing will come in post-production phase, exports will come, public procurement will come, waste, parali, stubble burning. That will also come at this stage, and value addition, food processing industries will also come once you have harvested the crop, you have transferred to the next stage of post-harvest. At this stage, food processing industry will come. So any issue in agriculture, any challenge, any way forward can be made via this. So you have to learn this framework and make the points accordingly by understanding how things work, by visualizing the thing. We know how agriculture works. So this is how you have to do. And after just a second. Acha. After this, if any culture on land reform in agriculture, if this comes, you have to solve this question based on 5 things. First will be abolition of intermediaries, second will be tenancy reforms, third will be land sealing, fourth will be consolidation of land holding, and fifth will be cooperative farming. We see questions on land reform, but as soon as we see a question, we are unable to generate the points. So this is the framework: abolition of intermediaries, tenancy reforms, land sealing, consolidation of land holding, and cooperative farming. These 5 things can be used. Apart from this, whenever we talk, if we talk about inputs we saw at pre-sowing stage. If the question is coming on water, seeds, fertilizers, anything, so you can use some of the things to make analysis of the inputs like water, seeds, fertilizers, etc. So whenever if a question is coming specifically on inputs, you can use the approach of availability, whether the input is available or not, what is the cost of the input, that is. Second will be affordability. Third will be if whether that input is creating any environmental issue or not. Fourth will be quality. For example, the seeds which are coming in market, their quality is not good. So quality of water can be seen, quality of seed, quality of fertilizers. So that can be used everywhere. Policy support. What is the policy support which government is providing? For example, in case of water, it is Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Beej Swalamban Yojana. In fertilizer, there are also some schemes. So the main scheme of this nutrition based subsidy, NBS scheme. This is under fertilizer, mainly ammonia based fertilizers. So you can use this framework in input. And if any question on mechanization is coming, if question is coming on mechanization of agriculture, in mechanization, as per Indian Council of Agriculture Research, there are 4 levels. That is seed bed preparation, second is sowing operation, third is planting, and fourth is harvest. So you have to, if a question is coming, so you have to use these 4 pillars as prepared by ICAR, Indian Council of Agriculture Research. And if supply chain, if question on supply chain in agriculture is coming, there are mainly 2 types of supply chain in agriculture. One is traditional, another is newly developed farm to fork. Traditional is which is continuing today in India. In traditional market, in traditional form of supply chain, what is happening? As soon as a farmer is done with post harvest, he will take his produce to the mandi. In mandi, that some of the intermediaries will cell that produce to the factory. That factory will, the government FCI will procure from the factory, and then it will give to state government, and then it will be distributed to beneficiaries via public distribution system. So it is a very long process. The new supply chain will be farm to fork model. That is, from farmer can directly sell it to retailer or to collection centers. There are various collection centers which will be made, and from there it will be sold to consumers. So this supply chain is far more efficient as compared to traditional supply chain. So you can use both supply chains. If a question is coming on supply chain in agriculture, you can use these frameworks: traditional supply chain and farm to fork model. You have to focus on understanding the concepts which I am telling you, because these are very important. Another will be sustainable agriculture. If a question on sustainable agriculture is coming, you can use 5 pillars as recommended by UN. That will be resource conservation, accessibility, commercially competitiveness, environmentally sound, and socially supportive. So any sustainable agriculture system as per UN will focus on 5 pillars, that is resource conservation, accessibility, commercial competitiveness, environmental soundness, and socially supportive. So if a question on coming, you can use these 5 pillars. And in sustainable agriculture, there is one concept of zero budget natural farming. Question can come on this. So in this, there are 4 stages in zero budget natural farming. The one is Jivamrut, second is Achadana, third is Bijamrit, fourth is Vapasa. That is mixing dung and jaggery in the soil, mulching, pest management, and irrigation. So you can use these 4 stages if a question on zero budget natural farming is coming. So you have to focus on framework. These things will help you to generate important points. And some of the last things in agriculture are, if something is coming on food security, there are 5 things in food security. One is availability, second is allied sector, third is infrastructure, fourth will be sustainable agriculture system and practices, fifth will be entrepreneurship. Yes. So after agriculture, once you are done with noting the things down, what you have to do is you have to read the agriculture and you have to put whatever the frameworks I am telling you in front of you, so that you can use these frameworks while writing the answers. Because at the end of the day, it is all about brainstorming rather than just writing. So once you will be starting using these frameworks, it will be helpful to generate many new points. Now in GS3, we will talk about internal security. In internal security, firstly, if any question on national security is coming, any question on national security, there are 8 dimensions of national security. 8 dimensions are, firstly, military security, second will be economic security, third will be political security, fourth will be social security, fifth will be resources like water, soil, air, sixth will be technological security, especially cyber security and digital issues, seventh will be environmental security, and eighth will be disaster security. So you have to open your answer based on these 8 type of securities under national security. So these are the dimensions of national security. If any question on left wing extremism, Kashmir insurgency, or northeast insurgency, if any question on these three issues, you can use four things to complete your answer. First will be timeline, evolution. For example, in left wing extremism, things started from Naxalbari. So you must know the timeline. And currently we have the target of eliminating left wing extremism by 31st March 2026. So you must know the complete timeline from Naxalbari incident till 2026 if you have to do this. Second will be drivers. What are the things which are driving left wing extremism, Kashmir issues, or Northeast insurgency? The main drivers are socio-economic issues, governance issues, international influence. For example, take international influence. In Kashmir, it is of Pakistan. In Northeast, it is from Myanmar and China. Left wing extremism, it is from China. So these things can be used. Third will be initiatives. What are the initiatives which government is taking to curb these things? So initiatives are basically security initiatives, economic initiatives, social initiatives, infrastructure initiatives, rehabilitation by government, and package. So there are six things. There are six things which can be used. Those are security, economic, social, infrastructural, rehabilitation, and packages which government is doing to curb any of the issue. And then you have to write a way forward. You can prepare a way forward for each of these issues. So you will be able to complete once you are done with timeline, drivers. I have told you 4 drivers. I have told you 6 areas where government is taking initiative. So you can club, you can find out specific points under these headings. I'm just telling you the headings. You have to do some work and you have to find out some of the points under these 6 subheadings. For example, now terrorism in internal security. In terrorism, we have to analyze terrorism based on 6 phases. First will be propaganda, which is run by terrorists. Second will be recruitment, how terrorists are recruiting people. Third will be training. Fourth will be planning. Fifth will be fundraising, and sixth will be execution. So any question on terrorism, you have to use these 6 frameworks to write a holistic answer. I'll repeat: propaganda, recruitment, training, planning, fundraising, and execution. If you have to provide a way forward in your answer to terrorism, you can use their way forward. You can use UN counter terror strategy. It has 4 pillars. First is addressing conditions which are conducive to spread terrorism. Second is combating terrorism. Third is building state capacity. And fourth is ensuring that human rights are being respected. So these are the 4 pillars which can be undertaken to provide a way forward as per UN. So these are some of the frameworks which you can use. Then after terrorism, there is organized crime. If a question on organized crime is coming, you have to break organized crime into various aspects like drugs, human trafficking, arms trafficking, extortion, cyber, prostitution, counterfeit currency. So you have to prepare like this. You have to break everything so that you will be able to remember the answer in mains. Because in mains, we have 7 minutes for 10 marker and 11 minutes for 15 marker. It is very difficult to generate points. If you have such frameworks, you know what are the components of organized crime, it will be easier for you to make the points. And in money laundering, if a question on money laundering is coming, if a question on money laundering is coming, money laundering is basically done in three stages, that is placement, then a layering, then integration. So any question on money laundering, just see it from these three perspectives. Firstly, you will accumulate your money, then you will place that money so that in a financial system, so that it must look like a white money. Then you will layer the money, you will hide the origin of the money, and then you will integrate the money so it can be seen as legitimate asset. So any question on money laundering, use these things: placement, layering, and integration. Then communication network. Since communication network is a very important topic in internal security, there are basically 5 components of a safe communication network. This is confidentiality, integrity, availability, non repudiability, and risk management and incident response. So, these 5 things, you have to think in this frameworks that there are 5 things in any communication network which will help me to secure that network. So these 5 things will help you to generate more points, that is you'll be able to include more points in confidentiality like data, integrity of an communication system, availability, non repudiability, and risk management and incident response. And under national cyber security strategy, under this communication network is there is a national cyber security strategy. As per national cyber security strategy, there are 3 things which can be used in way forward, that is secure the communication network, synergize with the international players, and third is strengthen the communication network. So this can be used in way forward. Apart from this, what are the types? If we talk about cyber crime now, there are mainly 5 types of cyber crime: software, hardware, social engineering, data, and cyberbullying. So any issue on cybercrime, any question, its impacts, way forward, significance, you have to generate your points, your arguments under these 5 broad heads. That is hardware. For example, in hardware, what can be done in hardware? DDoS attack, distributed denial of service attack. You are unable to access something, that is an hardware attack. Then software attack, that is hacking. Social engineering, which is done on social media. Fourth will be data. For example, we are seeing that Zomato Zomato data compromise, AIMS. There was a leak at data in there was leak in AIMS for data. And last will be cyberbullying, like digital arrest. So these are the 5 components which can be used in cybercrime. Then last will be types of warfare. There are mainly 2 types of warfare: kinetic warfare and non kinetic warfare. Kinetic warfare means engagement of traditional military operations, whereas non kinetic warfare means the traditional military will not be used, and some of the new components which have emerged in recent past, they will be used. So, some of the dimensions under non kinetic warfare which can be used by you is information warfare, cyber warfare, economic warfare, legal warfare, socio-political warfare, and environmental warfare. So mainly there are 3 types of non-kinetic warfare: hybrid, hybrid warfare, gray warfare, and asymmetric warfare. So kinetic, non-kinetic. Kinetic is use of traditional military, whereas non-kinetic means use of 6 things, which are information warfare, cyber warfare, economic warfare, legal warfare, socio-political warfare, and environmental warfare. This will be traditional means military. And non-kinetic will involve these 6 things. Some of the examples will be asymmetric warfare, gray zone warfare, and hybrid warfare. Hybrid warfare basically means the mix of kinetic and non-kinetic. So apart from the internal security, we will move towards disaster management. In disaster management, some of the important data points are vulnerability areas of India are India is the total area of India. I will be talking with reference to total area of India. 60% of India is prone to earthquake, 8% cyclones, 68% droughts, 12% floods. Coastline. Recently there has been change in the dimensions of coastline, so you can note the new dimensions which are proposed by I think Ministry of Home Affairs. So the coastline is exposed to tsunamis, and 55% of our forests are exposed to occasional forest fires. So you can use these data points in your answers of disaster management. So after that, some of the important points are JC Pant committee can be referred, 10-point PM program can be used, and disaster management amendment bill. This is important for mains this year, so you can make a short note on this thing. And if there is any disaster, it will create these 5 issues. One will be environmental issue, second will be social, third will be physical infrastructure, loss of life, loss of property, fourth will be economic issues, and fifth will be mental issues, psychological issues. If you are seeing a huge disruption around you, there will be some mental or psychological issues. So second, issues. There are 5 basically issues. Third will be, if you have to see institutions, they will be seen on 3 levels. One be DDMA, SDMA, and NDMA. These are 3 levels. Any disaster response will be given at these 3 levels: at district level, at state level, at national level. This is the hierarchy. So you can use these hierarchy in your institutions. And at international level, if a question on international level comes, there are mainly 4 points at international level. The first will be the evolution of Yokohama, Hyogo, and Sendai. The Sendai framework has been evolved from Hyogo and Yokohama framework. So first will be Sendai framework. Second will be global platform on disaster risk resilience. Third will be CDRI, and fourth will be Warsaw mechanism for loss and damage. So these are the 4 things which can be used if any answer on international is coming, or international disaster is coming. Fifth will be cycle and disaster management. If you have to show cycle for anything, flood, tsunami, you can use this pre-disaster, disaster, then post-disaster. So pre-disaster means you will be engaged in reducing the risks, reducing the vulnerabilities. When disaster will struck, you will do the impact assessment. What is the impact? And you will focus on response and recovery. In post disaster, you will ensure that firstly reconstruction, and again these thing will go here. Now post disaster after reconstruction will become pre disaster. For example, we'll take the example of recent Air India crash. Pre disaster, our civil aviation ministry will be focusing on reducing the air crashes during the disaster. Firstly, there was impact analysis, then there was response, and post disaster, now reconstruction is happening. So, this is how any disaster, man made disaster, any disaster that can be tackled. And sixth will be way forward in disaster management. Any way forward in disaster management will be built on 6 pillars. First will be understanding the risks. You have to note these points down so that you can make the frameworks as per your own points. The first will be understanding the risk. For example, understanding the risk will involve early warning system, forecasting. Second will be inter-agency collaboration. That is different agencies. For example, in the last slide, we saw the agencies at these 3 levels. They must collaborate with each other. So you can create a way forward recommending that inter-agency collaboration is very important. Third will be structural measures. That is to reduce the impact of any disaster. Some structural measures are needed, which might include multi-hazard shelters. For example, if I'm living in Odisha on a coastal area, I will require some shelters which ensure my safety from tsunamis or cyclones. Or in structural measures, you can mention retrofitting. Fourth will be non-structural measures like regulation. For example, if the issue is of glacial lake outburst flood, that is GLOF. So you have to make a regulation that in the river valley, no buildings will be permitted. So this is a non-structural measures. We are not changing the structure, but we are changing the regulation. Fifth will be capacity development, that is community radio, training, volunteering. Sixth will be climate change risk management. For example, Sendai framework or climate change adaptation. So the 6 areas will be understanding the risk, interagency collaboration, structural measures, non-structural measures, capacity development, and climate change risk management. So these are some of the things in disaster management. In GS3, now we will see economy. 2 topics of economy. One will be inclusive growth. Second will be infrastructure. So the frameworks which can be used in inclusive growth and infrastructure framework basically means these things which I'm telling you will help you to generate points when you are brainstorming, when you are writing the answer in mains. So in inclusive growth, there are 9 components. So you can use these 9 components to create any way forward, to write what steps government is taking or issues in inclusive growth. So you can use the framework. The first component will be economic. Economic will include agriculture, MSMEs, and infrastructure. So the first component is in inclusive growth will be economic, which will include agriculture, MSMEs, and infra. Like this, the second component will be social, which will include education, skill development, health, and social protection. Like economy, there are 3 things. In social, there are 4 things. education, skilling, health, and social protection. Third is political. Political will include institutions, good governance, corruption. Because if corruption is happening, it is hampering inclusive growth. If a person is living below poverty line, that person cannot afford to give money to someone to get their work done. So it is an third will be political. It will be an issue of inclusive growth. So steps taken. If you, I'll mention the 9 points. If you have to write, for example, say steps taken by government, you can write in economy, agriculture. These are the steps. In MSME, these are the steps. In infra, in social, in education, health, skilling, etc. In political institutions, good governance. So you can generate the points using these frameworks. Fourth is financial. In inclusive growth, financial inclusion is very important. In financial inclusion, mainly has three pillars: banking the unbanked, financing the unfinanced, and securing the unsecured. So, in financial inclusion, you will be writing these three things: banking the unbanked, financing the unfinanced, securing the unsecured. Fifth will be after financial, fifth will be technological inclusion. Sixth will be gender inclusion. Male, female, transgenders will also come. Seventh will be geographical inclusion, rural, urban, northeast. Eighth will be environmental inclusion. And ninth will be cultural inclusion, that is minorities. So you can use these 9 points which I've told you to frame any answer on inclusive growth. Now, infrastructure. In infrastructure, if a broad question on infrastructure is coming, then the framework is test. That is transport infrastructure, energy infrastructure, and socio-economic infrastructure and telecom infrastructure, that is digital. Transport will include road, rail, aviation, waterways. Energy will include three levels: generation, transmission, and distribution. Socio-economic will include water, health, education, irrigation, and this will be digital, that is telecommunication. So these are the four infrastructure. If any question on infrastructure is coming, you must think from this broader perspective. Or any question on inclusive growth is coming, you must think from these 9 perspectives. These things will ensure that your answer is holistic. So these are the importance of framework, that you will be able to generate many points. Your answer will be multidimensional. In infrastructure, if any question on logistics is coming, so if any question on logistics, if any question on logistics is coming, it will start from transportation. Generally, we think in logistics, it is only about transportation, but no. It starts from transportation, but it also includes warehousing and storage, customer service, regular compliances with the laws which are made by government. Fifth will be risk management. So there are 5 things under any logistical issues or way forward. That is transportation, warehousing and storage, customer service, regulation of compliances, and risk management. That is, risk management will be securing the whole supply chain of my logistical company. That is risk management. And in infrastructure, if any question on sustainable transport is coming, sustainable transport will include 3 things. That is sustainable fuel, sustainable transport infrastructure, sustainable vehicles. So it will be fuel, transport, that is public transport, and vehicles. So these are the three things in sustainable transport which you can use while creating any answer for sustainable transport. Apart from GS3, we will shift towards GS2. In GS2, I have prepared, so you can get a new sheet from, you can get a new sheet where you can write down the framework which I created for international relation in GS2, which you can use. First will be IR. In IR, if a question between any bilateral issues are coming, for example, this year India Pakistan, India Bangladesh, we have seen a recent coup in Bangladesh, any answer on international relations that will be analyzed from 9 dimensions. The first will be historical, second will be geographic, that is geostrategic, we usually say na. Third will be economic, that is geoeconomic. Fourth will be political and diplomatic. Fifth will be security, that is if two nations, whether two nations are collaborating with each other on security issues. Sixth will be technological. Seventh will be cultural. Eighth will be developmental and connectivity. Ninth will be multilateral. So I'll explain with the example of ASEAN countries. If you have to analyze the relation between India and ASEAN, how you can use this framework. For example, when we talk about history, Ramayana plus Mahabharat, plus there are various temples in Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, etc. So this is the historical perspective. When we are talking about geography, it is Indo-Pacific region where we can collaborate. When we are talking about economy, there is a free trade agreement between India and ASEAN. After that, the cooperation in blue economy and this project Nexus, which is for interlinkages between payment system of India and ASEAN countries. And political and diplomacy, there is a strategic partnership which India has signed with various nations of ASEAN countries. First will be strategic partnership. Second will be, there is an Indo-Pacific division in Ministry of External Affairs, MEA division. And these are the 4 points. Fifth was security. With ASEAN, we have ADMM plus, that is ASEAN Defense Ministerial Meeting plus. India is a part of this. Plus in security, we have Sabang Port. In Indonesia, we have Changi Port. So these are the things which can be written. Sixth was technological. Recently, we have signed a cooperation agreement with Singapore for semiconductors. Seventh was cultural or people to people. In cultural and people to people, there are various youth from these countries which are studying at Nalanda University, plus Buddhism. Eighth will be developmental and connectivity. There are various projects like IMT Trilateral Highway, Kaladan Multimodal Project, and last will be multilateral. That is, we are focusing and cooperating with ASEAN on various multilateral platforms like BIMSTEC, East Asia Summit. Last will be multilateral. So these are the nine points under the framework which can be used in every international relation question if you have to write a good answer. It can be used with any bilateral country: India, ASEAN, India, US, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Afghanistan. Just you have to remember these things and make some specific points like this. So historical, geography, economy, political, security, technology, cultural, developmental, and connectivity, and multilateral. So these are the 9 points which can be used in international relations. In GS2, if we talk about governance, if there is any question on civil services and you have to provide a way forward, you can use 7 points. First will be recruitment. How civil servants should be recruited. For example, as per ARC2, it has recommended National Institute for Public Administration, which can be used for recruitment. After recruitment, there will be training. So, what are the reforms which can be done in training? So, you can make some of the points under these specific heads so that you will be able to recollect some of the points easily. Third will be domain expertise. Fourth will be autonomy of these civil servants. Fifth will be efficiency. Sixth will be accountability. And last will be performance appraisal. So this comes as an adapter. So you can use this adapter to reform any civil servant, any civil service institution. That is, start from recruitment, training, domain expertise. You have to ensure that civil servants are domain experts and they are not journalists. Fourth will be accountability, efficiency, and this is about performance appraisal, and this was about autonomy. So these are the 7 things which can be used in any governance answer to reform civil services. If the question is about training, in training you can use 4 E's which are very prominent. That is empowered learning, effective learning, exploratory learning, and electronic learning. So if you have to train, that specific head of training was there in adapter, you can use 4 things, 4 E's. That is empowered learning, effective learning, exploratory learning, and electronic learning. And if something is coming on good governance, there are 8 pillars of good governance as per UNDP. Any question, what steps government is taking in good governance, what is the way forward for good governance, issues in good governance, you can use these 8 pillars as given by UNDP. The acronym is CPT RAREE. C will be consensus based governance, B will be participatory governance, T will be transparent governance, R will be responsive governance, A will be accountable governance, R will be the governance which is following rule of law, E will be effective governance, and here E will be the governance which ensures equity and inclusiveness. So these are the 8 things which are given by UNDP, that is CPTRA, CPTRAREE. This can be used. Plus, 9th one which can be used is strategic vision. This is not given by this is not given by UNDP. So 9th is strategic vision. These things you can use any answer for good governance. You can use this framework CPT, RAREE, and strategic vision. So in GS1, the last will be GS1. Since the syllabus of GS1 mainly includes modern history, geography, it is mostly based on prelims. So there are no such frameworks which I've used in GS1, but in society, I think if the answers of society are written well in GS1, you will score above average marks. The answers of society must reflect understanding. That you have understood the issue, because the questions will be complicated. You have to reflect that you have understood the issue and you are addressing the issue comprehensively. This is the main thing. Understanding the question well and addressing it comprehensively rather than rushing. So always, since last 4 or 5 questions are from society and they are 15 marker, we write them at last. Try to write them before writing factual answers of modern history or geography. And in society, there is a huge importance of current examples. Like in the institution of marriage, the recently Raja Raghuvanshi case, it can be quoted. If the question is coming on marriage, so this Raja Raghuvanshi case can be quoted. If question is coming on caste, caste census can be used. If question is coming on women, in Operation Sindoor, there were 2 women, Vyomika Singh and Sophia Qureshi. Their example can be used. And recently, government started USBRL project that connect the Kashmir Valley to Indian Railways. And in that project, Madhavi Latha, she worked for 20 years to build the Chenab, which is the highest bridge. So you can use these examples, recent examples. In women, we talked about Operation Sindoor or Madhavi Latha. So you can use these things. So in society, it's all about understanding, comprehensiveness, and how you are giving current touch to your answers. So I'm done with my session. So there are some specific doubts which I will take. Scroll. Faisal Shaukat Bhatt. He is asking, hello sir, how to start answer writing? So mainly, as I talked about the process which can be used in answer writing, I'll show this. Knowing, flowing, and showing. Firstly, you must read the content very wisely. Then start writing answers. You will write answers that are not up to the demand, or you will not be able to fill the 2 pages. But write 2 questions, 3 questions, or 5 questions daily. Once you are done with the flowing, then start working on your presentation. You will put diagrams, you will put pie charts, you will build some context while writing the question. So firstly, you must know some content before starting the answers. Shubham asked, sir, is necessary important to answer? Shubham, I think I'm unable to understand your question. Shivangi Bhardwaj, how to find unique example in ethics? Unique example in ethics, firstly, I showed how I use today's newspaper to get some examples. That is very important point. You have to get some examples from newspapers and you have to apply them in the keywords of the syllabus. If, for example, there was an example I told you about, which was in newspaper on explained page, government is asking for citizens feedback by putting a QR code for the effectiveness of Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. So you can use this example in social audits, citizen charter, feedback mechanism. So this is how you will be writing some unique points or some unique examples in your in your answers. And Ganesha Jindal, from where you learned all these things? I have referred to various materials to learn some of these things, and I've also in international relation I built those things. So it is a mix of various materials which were available online. Any of the doubts? Hmm. Polity. Polity mainly I talked in. Okay, let me. Polity. In polity, some of the important points will be first will be articles. You must remember. Okay. You must remember the articles. What you will do is you will make a short note. You will make 2 pages of the important, all the important articles which are written in our constitution. You will write down them on 2 pages, and you will revise those articles from time to time. Second will be judgments. For example, there are various points in the syllabus: federalism, local governance. So you must know elections, you must know important judgments regarding each of these, because you have to quote those judgments. After article and judgment, you have to prepare specific intros and conclusions. If the issue is on local governance or federalism, you must have something prepared for the introduction and conclusion. For example, in local governance, I used to start from Gandhiji. I used to start from Gandhiji. So it was something like it was the vision of Gandhiji, so that a decentralized India will emerge. So something like that. So you have to make some introductions and conclusions beforehand of the topics which are mentioned. Yes, you have to make some of the introduction and conclusion. For example, federalism. You must know something about federalism. Yes, 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 with keywords. And along with it, current examples. These are very important. In federalism, you must show if there is some issue between governor, all India service, etc. You must show that. And for example, bulldozer justice. There was a recent judgment. There was a recent judgment by Supreme Court on bulldozer justice. So you can read articles, judgments, introduction and conclusion, and current examples. These are very important. And Ayush is sir, UPSC prelims. Okay, okay, Ayush. Since the session was specifically for mains, but I will tell something about UPSC. But I will recommend all of you that right now is the time to focus on mains. You must be focusing on mains for at least 6 months, so that you have some points for each syllabus, for each topic mentioned in syllabus on your notes. And you are reading newspaper and you are writing the examples of the newspaper under those heads. So this is very important. But as Ayush is saying, so I'll write some of the important things for prelims also. Minimum input, maximum output. So this means you have to read minimum and you have to understand maximum. Reading minimum means for the basic subjects like polity, economy, history, just read the books. As we know, for for polity we read Lakshmikant. For economy, you can have your own material. For history, we read Spectrum, and in ancient and medieval, we read NCRTs. So you have to read these books for at least 10 to 15 times. All of these books to 10 to 15 times, rather than rather than focusing on 4 or 5 sources. Just read the main basic books which you all know 10 to 15 times. This is the thing which is hardest to do, but you have to do. You have to ensure that at minimum you are doing this. After after reading, you have to make some short notes. For example, I made short notes of Lakshmikant polity. My notes were of 20 pages, and I scored very good in prelims in 2024. My score was approximately 120 marks, so it was way ahead of the cutoff. So it is basically, you have to have some short notes so that you can revise very quickly. Yes, whole book 20 notes, one pager, Lakshmikant. So it is in civil service exam, it is all about how fast you can move, how fast you can revise. Because if you are able to revise the thing faster, you are ahead of the competition. So I had notes of Lakshmikant. I had notes of geography also, physical geography, 5 to 6 pages. There are some of the notes of Spectrum also. I made notes. I In Spectrum, what I used was, after when the chapter ends, there is a summary, and I wrote important points of the chapter in the summary. Now I just read summary. I don't read book. I read book 5 6 times. Then I wrote important points in summary. Now I just read summary. It hardly take 4 to 5 hours to revise Spectrum. That is the importance of agility. So you have to make short notes, and then PYQs. You have to solve all the papers from 2013. Very important. In PYQs, you can do two things. There are two type of analysis which you can do in PYQs. One is structural, and one is contextual. Structural means how UPSC frames the question. For example, generally it is saying that data is incorrect, something like that. You must know the language of UPSC. If some of option is extreme, there are high chances that it will be incorrect. So you must understand how UPSC creates the exam. One will be this. Second will be contextual. You have to understand each and every option question, so that in case that question gets repeated next year, so you have to learn that. In 2024, there can be an option. In 2025, there can be a question from that option. So you have to do some analysis of that option, so that if this comes next year, I will be able to solve this. So you will understand the pattern and you will learn the paper. These are the two important things of PYQs. And last will be practice. Last will be practicing the papers. You have to practice, say, if you are done practicing with 10 to 12 papers, now you have to analyze whether there is a need of more papers or not, because solving papers is about gaining the skill which is required in the exam. These papers will not help you, but the skill which you will gain through these papers, that will help you. The intellectual ability that you will have to solve the question, that thing will help you. I think Ayush, I have told. Sumit, how many topics we have to make notes in GS2 like micro themes. See, Sumit, in GS2, it is mainly polity and constitution. First, second, it is governance. Third, it is social justice. Fourth, it is IR. You have to refer to any PYQ notebook, PYQ book, from which you can read the PYQs and identify themes under the heads. For example, if historical underpinnings, or federalism, you have to identify the recurrent themes which are coming under these topics. There will be various questions, similar question. You have to club those questions under one theme, and then you have to prepare the micro notes of the themes. So as the more the number of topics or themes you will be covering, the more are the chances you will be scoring well in mains. So it depends on time, how much time you have to cover the micro themes. The more you can do, the more is better. In IR also, for example, last year I wrote question about India Maldives. So there was question about India Maldives. So you see how neighborhood, what is the theme in neighborhood? For example, India follows neighborhood first policy. So see the themes in neighborhood. Whether it is bilateral, that is bilateral means the relationship between two countries, or it is in neighborhood, it is all about South Asia, or any organizations in South Asia like SARC. So you have to identify more and more themes and make some notes on these themes. Ishika, sir, any guidance how to start with the preparation? So, Ishika, starting the preparation basically requires reading some NCRTs. You have to read 3-4 times. Choosing optional. Third will be then referring standard books. So you have to read NCRTs. These NCRTs will help you to brush up your basics and understand the conceptual things. You have to choose optional because ultimately this is the things which will help you to get into the list to get a rank. And then you have to start reading standard book. The most important thing in UPSC is it is always about understanding how in what depth you can understand the topic. That is what matters. And I think if you have any doubts, okay. Thank you very much. I think I've resolved all your doubts, and it was nice time. Okay, thank you.